just saw Josh pop on.
It's 5 o'clock. Chair, you may begin.
So Mr. Morton is present.
That is correct.
Yes, I am.
So we have all of our regular members present.
Yes. Joshua, it's all yours.
I now call the May 19th, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting to order. Item 3, public comment. Citizens who desire to address the board with regard to matters on the agenda will be read and or received at this time. Members of the public desiring to make comments during this portion of the meeting will be allowed to submit their written comments to the office of the city secretary. Written email comments must be received by 3 p.m. Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. The City of Sugar Land reserves the right to remove any written emailed comments deemed inappropriate and or not related to matters posted on the agenda. Comments or discussion by the board will only be made at the time the subject is scheduled for consideration. Were there any requests for public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, so no public comment requests were received. We'll move forward to item 4. The minutes, consideration of and action on the minutes of the April 21st, 2021 meeting. Board members, does anyone have any corrections?
No.
Not hearing any. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
All right, great. Thanks, Herb. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. Motion and a second. We will do a roll call for votes. When you hear your name, please give a yay or nay. Mr. Schwab.
Yay.
Mr. Pruveda.
Yay.
Miss Lindsay.
Yay.
Mr. Morden.
Yay.
And Mr. LaRocca is a yay. The minutes are approved. Thank you all. Moving forward to the next item. Item 5A, public hearing. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed special exception to the rear yard setback for 4118 Trent Street, Lot 9, Block 2, Commonwealth Estates, Section 1 in the restricted single-family residential R1R district. Miss Waller. You might be on mute.
Yep, I was definitely on mute. So we're going to start out with our R1R case this evening. So that's the restricted single-family residential, which does require a 30-foot rear yard setback. This is part of the Commonwealth Estate Section 1 plat. Was platted in 1990 and annexed in 1997, and their proposal is a patio cover. Next slide. The recorded plat established an 8-foot utility easement along the rear property line. However, the zoning setback is 30 feet. The garage is currently 8.3 feet from the rear property line and is considered accessory. However, the proposed patio cover attaches to the rear of the house and does extend to 3 feet 8 1/4 inches of the garage. So the garage is now considered primary structure and has to meet that 30-foot setback. So we're going through this special exception in order to allow the garage to follow the 8-foot utility easement as the rear yard setback. Next slide. So here's a site plan highlighted in yellow with the slashes. That's the new proposed patio cover. And it is, as you can see, it's pretty close to that front corner of the garage. And that dimension is 3 feet 8 1/4 inches within that 10 feet. So this does mean the garage is considered attached and has to meet that 30-foot setback. Next slide. Here are the elevations. You can see the materials to be used are for matching, and you can see the exact floor plan and the footprint. Here is where you can also zoom in and see that 3 feet 8 1/4 inches as well. And you can see it's tying into the breezeway and the front of the garage there. Next slide. Here's a Google excerpt. Right, so this is the house there on the corner, and right there in the middle where the breezeway is from the garage, and then the extension on the right side of the house, it's going to be kind of connecting those two areas there across the middle of the back of the house. Next slide. So in the area, there do appear to be 6 homes that don't meet that rear yard setback of 30 feet, and there are 7 approved similar special exceptions in the immediate vicinity right there. Next slide. As for the first 3 criteria, it does meet all of them. To the fourth, this does not appear to be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the neighborhood in any way. Next slide. Notification was, the public hearing was notified. My words are escaping me. The HOA and property owners were notified per the state statute for public hearings. The online form was made available to provide comments, and we did receive 1 inquiry by phone. However, that was more general and just informational, and staff is not aware of any opposition. Next slide. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of the special exception with the condition that it be constructed in accordance with the attached site plan and elevations. We do have the contractor here, Anna Cruz with Colony Builders, and also I'm here to answer any questions after the close of the public hearing.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. You mentioned that a representative is here. Is the applicant here as well, or no?
No, just the contractor.
Okay. The representative for Colony is
Anna Cruz.
Say that again.
Anna Cruz.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, are you on the line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Do you have a presentation that you desire to make at all?
No, sir.
Chair, if you could first open the public hearing.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you, Laura. I'll take a step back. We will now open the public hearing. Anna, if there are questions arise, do you desire to answer those questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that being said, I'd like to swear you in just so that we don't need to worry about that at a later time during the processions. If you will raise your right hand and answer the question. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth in these proceedings under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that desires to speak at this public hearing? Not hearing any, we will close the public hearing and we'll move forward to consideration of an action on a proposed special exception to the rear yard setback for 4118 Trent Street, Lot 9, Block 2, Commonwealth Estates, Section 1 in the restricted single-family residential R1R district. At this time, we'll go through the criteria. The first criteria, the latest recorded plat of the property was approved prior to being annexed into the city. As we heard, the plat was recorded in 1990. The property was annexed in 1997. We in agreement with that, members?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Second criteria, the latest recorded plat or other recorded restriction for the property establishes a setback or other regulation that results in a setback that is less restrictive than the setback required by the City of Sugar Land Development Code, Chapter 2. As we saw, the recorded plat establishes an 8-foot rear yard setback utility easement. In comparison, the R1R district requires a setback of not less than 30 feet for primary structures. We in agreement with that criteria?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Third criteria, granting the special exception will not establish a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established by the latest approved plat or other recorded restriction. As we've seen, the recorded plat for this particular section in Commonwealth Estates established an 8-foot rear yard setback utility easement adjacent to the rear property line. The applicant is not proposing to encroach on the 8-foot rear yard setback utility easement. And as we've heard, the special exception will not grant a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established on the plat. We all in agreement with that criteria?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And the fourth criteria, granting the special exception will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property improvements in the district or neighborhood in which the property is located. As we talk about the fourth criteria, I will open up to the board if anyone has any questions for Laura or for the applicant's representative. Are there any at this time? Okay, not hearing any. Then let's wrap up the fourth criteria. Any concerns from any of the members that the special exception would be detrimental or injurious?
No.
Okay, not hearing any. Perfect. Okay, so we'll continue moving forward if there's no questions at this time. We obviously have touched on the four criteria, and we'll move forward to noting the staff examine the proposed special exception for three key aspects. The first being public safety review. There does not appear to be any public safety issues or concerns associated with this request. The second being the proposal in relation to the neighborhood rear yard setback comparison. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be compatible with the neighborhood based on an analysis of the surrounding area. There appear to be 6 homes in the area that do not meet the rear setback of 30 feet, and as well as there are 7 approved similar special exceptions in the immediate area. And finally, the proposed addition is in compliance with the recorded plat and restrictions. And the third item, the third key aspect, related to neighborhood general architectural. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be architecturally compatible with the existing single-family residence and neighborhood, and elevations can be included for certainty. So we've gone through the 4 criteria. We've touched on the 3 key aspects that staff has examined. Any lingering questions, comments, clarifications from anyone from the board?
No.
Okay, so not hearing any, we will move forward, and I'll ask if there is a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Schwab.
I move that the special exception to the rear yard setback requirements in the restricted single-family residential R1R district for the property located at 4118 Trent Street, Lot 9, Block 2, Commonwealth Estates, Section 1, be granted with the conditions that the patio cover addition to the residence be constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations attached to the request for the special exception.
Excellent, thank you, Herb. I have a motion from Mr. Schwab. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second from Ms. Lindsay. So a motion and a second. As we did before, we'll roll call for votes. When you hear your name, please provide a yay or a nay. Mr. Schwab.
Yay.
Mr. Pruveda. You might be on.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. Ms. Lindsay.
Yay.
Mr. Borden.
Yay.
And Mr. LaRocca is a yay. And so the motion is unanimously passed. Thank you. Moving forward, item 5B, public hearing. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed special exception to the rear yard setback for 4826 Caladium Drive, Lot 20, Block 3, Lexington Meadows, in the standard single-family residential R1 district. Ms. Waller.
Good evening. So we're moving to R1 standard zoning. No, I'm not muted. Okay. So this plat is Lexington Meadows. They're behind some of the commercial area, just off of 59 at Sweetwater. It was platted in 1993 and annexed in 1997. And again, the proposal is a patio cover. Next slide. The recorded plat did establish an 8-foot utility easement along the rear property line. However, zoning requires a 15-foot setback. The garage is approximately 8 feet from the rear property line and connected via a breezeway, so it's considered accessory. However, the proposed patio cover is going to attach the rear of the home and the front of the garage. Therefore, the garage is now primary. So the special exception would allow that patio cover to be built and let the garage meet the rear yard setback as recorded on the plat. Next slide. So here, again, highlighted in yellow with the lines across it is the proposed location for the patio cover. It would be on the front of the garage and the back of the house, and it does meet the 20-foot street side setback. What we're concerned with right now is the garage's 8-foot rear yard setback. Next slide. Here's the elevations showing approximately what the elevation is going to look like there with the roof pitch and the height. Next slide. So here the house is on the corner there. It's going to be at the back of the house and again attaching to the front of the garage. So it's going to cover that whole way and replace the breezeway there. Next slide. It does appear to be architecturally compatible and similar to those homes in the surrounding area. Approximately 5 that are nearby do not meet the 15-foot setback, and there are 6 approved special exceptions there in the immediate vicinity. Next slide. This does meet the first 3 standard criteria. As to the 4th criteria, staff does not see any apparent issues. Next slide. Public hearing requirements were all met. Notification was posted on the paper and online, and mailers sent out to those within 200 feet, as well as to the HOA. An online form was available. However, staff received no inquiries and is not aware of any opposition. Next slide. Therefore, we do recommend approval of the special exception with the condition that it's constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations. Staff is happy to answer any questions. There is no one present to represent this home.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. At this time, we will open the public hearing. I know you mentioned the applicant or representative is not present, but I will ask, is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak at this particular public hearing? Not hearing any, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing, and we'll move forward to consideration of an action on a proposed special exception to the rear yard setback for 4826 Caladium Drive, Lot 20, Block 3, Lexington Meadows in the standard single-family residential R1 district. This time we'll go through the 4 criteria. Number 1, first criteria, the latest recorded plat of the property was approved prior to being annexed into the city. The plat was recorded in 1993, property annexed in 1997. All in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Second criteria, the latest recorded plat or other recorded restriction for the property establishes a setback or other regulation that results in a setback that is less restrictive than the setback required by the City of Sugar Land Development Code, Chapter 2. As we heard, the recorded plat establishes an 8-foot rear yard setback utility easement. In comparison, the R1 district requires a 15-foot rear yard setback for primary structures. We in agreement with this second criteria?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Third criteria, granting the special exception will not establish a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established by the latest approved plat or other recorded restriction. As we heard, this property, the recorded plat for this property established an 8-foot rear yard setback utility easement adjacent to the rear property line. The applicant is not proposing to encroach on that particular utility easement. And also the special exception will not grant a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established on the plat or other recorded restrictions. In agreement with this third criteria, board?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And the 4th criteria, granting the special exception will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the district or neighborhood in which the property is located. This time I'll open it up to the members. Any questions that we might have, that anyone has for Laura regarding this special exception? Okay, not hearing any. Let's wrap up the 4th criteria. Are we all in agreement that the special exception will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property improvements?
Yes.
Okay, great. I see everyone in agreement with that. Okay, excellent. Let's keep moving forward. We've talked about the 4 criteria, and so let's touch on 3 key aspects that staff has examined related to this proposed special exception. Number 1, public safety review. There does not appear to be any public safety issues or concerns associated with this request. Number 2, the rear yard setback comparison. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be generally compatible with the existing single-family residence. As Laura mentioned, there appear to be 5 homes in the area that do not meet the rear yard setback of 15 feet, as well as there are 6 approved special exceptions in the overall area. And then finally, the proposed addition is in compliance with the recorded plat and latest recorded restrictions. And the third key aspect, the general architectural. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be generally architecturally compatible with the existing single-family residence and properties in the neighborhood, and elevations can be included for certainty. So just ran through the 3 key aspects that staff examined. We all touched on and reviewed the 4 criteria. At this time, is there any questions? Any lingering questions from the board members?
No.
Okay, not seeing any. We'll move forward, and I'll ask the members, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Karen.
I move that the special exception to the rear yard setback requirements in the standard single-family residential R1 district for the property located at 4826 Caladium Drive, Lot 20, Block 3, Lexington Meadows, be granted with the conditions that the patio cover addition to the residence be constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations attached to the request for the special exception.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second from Mr. Schwab. Motion and a second. We'll roll call. When you hear your name, please give a yay or a nay. Mr. Schwab.
Yay.
Mr. Preveda.
Yay.
Ms. Lindsay.
Yay.
Mr. Morton.
Yay.
And Mr. LaRocca is a yay as well. The special exception is unanimously passed. Thank you, members. Moving forward, item 5C, public hearing. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed special exception to the rear yard setback for 6311 Wagner Way, Lot 16, Block 2, Blakely Bend, in the interim standard single-family residential R1I district. Ms. Waller.
So we're moving to new territory. So this is going to be R1I zoning, which is the interim zoning. But again, this is the R1 standard still. So it's 15 feet in the rear that we're discussing. So this was platted in 1991 and annexed in 2017 with the rest of new territory at Greatwood. And their proposal is another patio cover. Next slide. The recorded plat did establish an 8-foot utility easement along the rear property line. However, as I mentioned, the interim R1 zoning requires a 15-foot rear yard setback, and the garage is only 9 feet from the rear property line as of right now. So the proposed patio cover is attached to the side of the garage this time, but it extends to within 7 feet of the house. So again, the garage is considered primary structure, although this time it's proximity to the rear of the house rather than the house to the front of the garage. The special exception would allow the patio cover to meet the rear yard setback as recorded on the plat. Next slide. So here, the giant arrow is pointing at the front of the side of the garage where the patio cover is going to be going, and it does extend to 7 feet, I believe, from the rear of the house, and it will be 8 feet from the rear property line. Next slide. Here's the elevations. They're putting in a pool, so this is what the view would be from the pool, looking through to the side of the garage. They are tying into the existing breezeway and post, and then they're adding a new post on the other side. And again, this would extend to, I believe, 7 feet from the house and 8 feet from the rear property line. Next slide. So the house right there in the middle with the pool at the back of the house is where this is going. So this would go in that open space that's between the end of the pool and the side of the garage. Next slide. An aerial analysis does show this to be fairly compatible with the neighborhood. There are about 5 homes nearby that do not seem to meet the rear yard setback of 15 feet. And there are 2 approved special exceptions in the immediate vicinity, shown there in the map on the left. Next slide. This does meet the first 3 standard criteria, and as to the 4th, staff has seen no apparent issues. Next slide. Public hearing requirements were all met, notification posted in the paper and online, and mailers sent out to property owners as well as to the HOA. There was an online form made available as well. We did receive 2 inquiries, one via phone and one via email. But staff is not aware of any opposition to the special exception. Those inquiries were fairly informational, and we were able to just answer the question about what exactly was happening. Next slide. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of the special exception with the condition that the patio cover is constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations that are attached. As with the plan before, there is no representative available, but I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. At this time, we will open the public hearing. As Laura mentioned, the applicant or a representative for them is not present, but I will ask, is there anyone present on the call that would like to speak at this particular public hearing? Not hearing anyone, we will go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll move forward with the consideration of an action on a proposed special exception to the rear yard setback for 6311 Wagner Way, Lot 16, Block 2, Blakely Bend in the interim standard single family residential R1I district. Moving forward, let's talk about the 4 criteria. Number 1, first criteria, the latest recorded plat of the property was approved prior to being annexed into the city. As Laura referenced, the plat was recorded in 1991. Property was annexed in 2017. In agreement with this criteria?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Second criteria, latest recorded plat or other recorded restriction for the property establishes setback or other regulation that results in a setback that is less restrictive than the setback required by the City of Sugar Land Development Code, Chapter 2. As we've heard, the recorded plat established an 8-foot utility easement at the rear of the property. In contrast, the R1I district requires a 15-foot rear yard setback for primary structures. In agreement with the second criteria?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Third criteria, granting the special exception will not establish a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established by the latest approved plat or other recorded restriction. As we've heard, the recorded plat for this particular property established an 8-foot rear utility easement. The applicant is not proposing to encroach on the recorded restriction. And finally, the special exception will not grant setback that is less restrictive than the setback established on the plat or other recorded restrictions. Members agreeable with this third criteria?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And the final fourth criteria, granting special exception will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property improvements in the district or neighborhood in which the property is located. At this time, I'll open it up to the members. Does anyone have any questions for Laura? Okay, not seeing any. Let's close the loop on this fourth criteria. Are we all in agreement that granting this special exception will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property improvements? We agreeable with that?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, perfect. We've talked about the 4 criteria. We'll move forward to the 3 key aspects the staff has examined for this particular proposed special exception. Number 1, public safety review. There do not appear to be any public safety issues or concerns associated with this request. Number 2, the neighborhood rear yard setback. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be generally compatible with the existing single-family residence. As Laura referenced, there appear to be 5 homes in the area that do not meet the rear yard setback of 15 feet, as well as there are 2 approved special exceptions in the overall area. And then finally, the proposed addition is in compliance with the recorded plat and latest recorded restrictions. And the third key aspect, the general architectural. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be generally architecturally compatible with the existing single-family residence and properties in the neighborhood, and elevations can be included for certainty if we move forward with that. So we've touched on the 3 key aspects. We've talked about the 4 criteria. Any final comments, questions from any of the members?
No.
Not hearing or seeing any. We will move forward and ask the members, is there a motion for this particular special exception?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Morton, go ahead.
I move that the special exception to the rear yard setback requirements in the interim standard single-family residential R1I district for the property located at 6311 Wagner Way, Lot 16, Block 2, Blakely Bend, be granted with the conditions that the patio cover addition to the residence be constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations attached to the request for the special exception.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh. So I have a motion from Mr. Morton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ms. Lindsay. So I have a motion and a second. We will vote via roll call. When you hear your name, please give a yay or a nay for the record. Mr. Schwab.
Yay.
Mr. Perveda.
Yay.
Ms. Lindsay.
Yay.
Mr. Morton.
Yay.
And Mr. LaRocca is a yay as well. This particular special exception is unanimously passed. Thank you, members. Continuing to move forward, item 5D, public hearing. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed special exception to the street side yard setback for 7703 New Forest Lane, Lot 15, Block 2, Greatwood Forest, Section 4, in the interim standard single-family residential R1I district. Laura.
Good evening. So we're moving from rear yard to street side, and that is the wrong map. I'm sorry. Greatwood Forest Section 4 R1I zoning. This was platted in 2006 and annexed in 2017, and the proposal is a patio cover. Next slide. The recorded plat establishes a 15-foot street side build line. However, our R1 standard requires a 20-foot street side yard setback. The existing home is approximately 15 feet from the street side property line, and the patio cover is to align with the side of the home at the rear and would be 15 feet from the street side. The special exception does allow the patio cover to meet the street side yard build line as recorded on the plat, rather than the zoning setback of 20 feet. Next slide. So here we go. We have the accurate site plan. So the front of the house is there at the bottom and the street side is to the left. So you can see at the rear of the house, they are adding on a new patio cover there, and it will be 15 feet from the street side property line in line with the house itself. Next slide. The rear elevation does have shingles to match, as well as the pretty wood and brick columns, as well as an outdoor kitchen with a granite countertop. Next slide. So here's the house. Again, here on the corner, the patio cover will be on that street side at the rear of the house, and it will align with that side of the house. Next slide. An analysis of the nearby area. This does appear to be architecturally compatible, and approximately 8 homes do not meet that street side yard setback of 20 feet. That is every single street side home but one in this neighborhood, just for the record's sake. There is one approved special exception, just 2 streets down, and it, however, was for the rear yard, but it's similar with the that it follows the platted restrictions rather than city zoning. Next slide. This does meet the first 3 standard criteria. As to the 4th, staff doesn't see any apparent issues. Next slide. All the public hearing requirements were met, notification posted on the website as well as in the paper, and mailers sent out to property owners nearby as well as to the HOA. An online form was made available. However, staff didn't receive any inquiries, and we are not aware of any opposition. Next slide. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of the patio cover with the condition that it's constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations. And we do have the homeowner here, Mr. Martin Lacey, to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. At this time, we will open the public hearing. Mr. Lacey, did you desire to make any type of presentation?
No, thank you, Josh.
Okay, excellent. If questions arise, are you available to answer those?
I am.
Okay. If given that dynamic, can I go ahead and swear you in if you don't mind?
Sure.
If you will listen to the question and answer accordingly, do you solemnly swear to affirm to tell the truth in these proceedings under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do. Okay,
excellent. And also, if you could state your name and your address for the record, that'd be appreciated.
Sure. Martin Lacey at 7703 New Forest Lane in Sugar Land.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Lacey. Appreciate that. Anybody else on the call that desires to speak at this particular public hearing? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll move forward to consideration of an action on a proposed special exception to the street side yard setback for 7703 New Forest Drive, Lot 15, Block 2, Greatwood Forest, Section 4, in the interim standard single-family residential R1I district. So at this time, we'll move forward and go through the 4 criteria that we've talked about during this meeting. For this particular special exception, first criteria, The latest recorded plat of the property was approved prior to being annexed into the city. As Laura referenced, the plat was recorded in 2006. The property was annexed in 2017. Members, you're agreeable with this first criteria?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Second criteria, the latest recorded plat or other recorded restriction for the property establishes a setback or other regulation that results in a setback that is less restrictive than the setback required by the City of Sugar Land Development Code, Chapter 2. As Laura referenced, the recorded plat establishes a 15-foot street side yard setback. In comparison, the interim R1I district requires a 20-foot street side yard setback for primary structures. Agreeable with this second criteria?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Third criteria, granting the special exception will not establish a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established by the latest approved plat or other recorded restriction. As we heard, the recorded plat for this particular property established a 15-foot street side yard setback adjacent to the street property line. The applicant is not proposing to encroach on this particular street side yard setback, as well as the special exception will not grant a setback that is less restrictive than the setback established on their plat or other recorded restrictions. Agreeable to this third criteria, members?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And the fourth criteria, granting the special exception will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the district or neighborhood in which the property is located. At this time, I'll open it up to the members of the board. Do y'all have any questions, clarifications for Laura or Mr. Lacey? Herb, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question for Laura, I think. You said that it is approximately 15 feet from the side yard. Does that mean that it's less than 15 feet, more than 15 feet, or?
Well, I mean, I didn't go out there and measure it myself, so that's why we use the word approximately. But
Okay.
yeah, it's plus or minus maybe like a half inch either way. It's
Okay, but when
I
it's up
didn't-
at the house, it looks like, and we're not going to have them move the house for sure.
correctly.
So, okay, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Herb. Any other questions from the members? Okay, not hearing or seeing any. Let's we'll wrap up this fourth criteria. As Laura mentioned, staff did not see anything that would create this which would cause this special exception to be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to the property improvements. If we grant this special exception, are we comfortable with this fourth criteria?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Excellent, thank you. So let's move forward. We've talked about the four criteria, excuse me. Let's touch on the three key aspects that staff has examined specific to this proposed special exception. Number one, public safety review. There do not appear to be any public safety issues or concerns associated with this request. Number two, related to the neighborhood and the rear yard setback. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be generally compatible with the existing single-family residence. As Laura referenced, there appear to be 8 homes in the area that do not meet the street side yard setback of 20 feet, as well as there's one approved special exception in the overall area. And then finally, the proposed addition is in compliance with the recorded plat and latest recorded restrictions. And number three, the general architectural. The proposed patio cover addition appears to be generally architecturally compatible with the existing single-family residence, as well as other properties in the neighborhood, and elevations can be included for certainty if we move forward with the motion. So we've touched on the four criteria, just reviewed the three key aspects that staff has examined. Any lingering questions from any of the members? Okay, not seeing any or hearing any. I'll open it up and ask the members, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Karen.
All right. I move that the special exception to the street side yard setback requirements in the interim standard single-family residential R1I district for the property located at 7703 New Forest Lane, Lot 15, Block 2, Great Wood Forest, Section 4, be granted with the conditions that the patio cover addition to the residence be constructed in accordance with the site plan and elevations attached to the request for the special exception.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you, Karen. So we have a motion from Ms. Lindsay. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Have a second from Mr. Schwab. Thanks, Herb. So we have a motion and a second. We will vote as we've done before via roll call. When you hear a name, please give a yay or a nay. Mr. Schwab?
Yay.
Mr. Pruveda?
Yay.
Ms. Lindsay?
Yay.
Mr. Morton?
Yay.
And Mr. LaRocca is a yay. So the special exception is unanimously passed. Thank you, members. Thank you, Mr. Lacey, for being on the call. We'll move forward. If there's no other action, we'll move forward to the adjournment of the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Have a motion and a second.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. We'll do everybody wave their hands as the yes vote. So I get 5 hands. Perfect. Unanimously passed. At this time, at the May 19th, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting is adjourned. Thank you, members. Thank you, Angeli.
Yeah, just so y'all are aware, we do have 4 cases again for next month.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate all your work this
No
month.
problem.
Thank you, everyone.
Y'all have a good evening.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night.